NHL teammates for 13 seasons. Now back together as on-air teammates. You are listening to the Kess and Juice Podcast. Hockey, life, and other stuff. Here are your hosts, Ryan Kessler and Kevin Bieksa.
What's up, guys? Episode 11, Kess and Juice Podcast. I'm Kevin Bieksa. Ryan Kessler is with me, as always, for the last 15 years. Kess, what's up, buddy? Where are you?
I'm in Vancouver, bud. Heard you're in Quebec for that Quebec tournament. But before we get into that, let's talk about your speech. Wow. Getting a lot of...
You're coming right at me right away.
A lot of street cred right now. But I think, who wrote that speech for you?
Speeches.com. No, you know me better than that. That was right. That was from the heart. And you can chirp me all you want, but you know that speech was like, we lived that. Like everything I told, besides like Danny and Hank being kind and genuine, everything else was true. So
100%. That's why I couldn't hear you, and I had to re-watch it on YouTube. But you did a good job, bud. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the funny part is when I was saying it, I knew none of you guys could hear me because when Shorty was announcing me and doing his spiel, I didn't hear anything he said either. Like it's a weird echo on the ice when somebody talks in those events. And I kind of knew it going in, but it ruined some of my stuff because you know me, I like to interact with you boys. And you guys couldn't hear any of my jokes.
Nothing.
But
we were
anyways,
just laughing when the crowd laughed just to make you feel good.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Good job, though.
Thanks, buddy.
Really
but traveling all day yesterday, 4-hour delay to get to Quebec City and just still kind of getting our bearings here, but walked around the city a little bit this morning, Katie and I, and it's cold here. Like I'm not used to the minus 20, 25 anymore, obviously, because I live in beautiful.
Is that Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Who cares? It's the same thing. I think that's Celsius. I think it's minus 25 Celsius. I'm not in Alaska. But beautiful little city here. Like if you ever, I don't know why you come here, but no, I don't mean it that way. You know, like I'm sure we have like 10 people from Quebec that listen to our podcast. But if you ever come here, it's a beautiful city with like a nice big castle and it's like a very European flavor to this city. So, anyways, keep that in the back of your mind. Have you been here before? Before I tell you,
I was there for the Quebec tournament.
Speak up.
A while ago. I was there for the Quebec tournament a while ago. Can you hear me now?
No, I mean like speak up. Like I'm just telling you about the city and you're like, yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, I've been there. I mean, yeah, that's the only minor hockey tournament besides Kamloops when we went to Kamloops to I think I was 16, but I remember the pins. Do they still trade the pins there?
Yeah, but now the pins are like $9.99. You got to buy them before to give them away, and they're like, "Oh, make sure you don't get ripped off with the pin exchange." Like it's a big barter trade system around here. I'm like, okay. They're like, don't put your pins down for 1 second, or somebody will snatch them. Like, really? You want a Junior Ducks? You want a Junior Ducks Pee Wee Quebec tournament pin? Go for it. But anyways, let's talk about what's coming up on this episode. We'll kind of relive some of that Sedin night. It was a pretty special night. We saw a lot of our ex-teammates that we haven't seen in a long time, especially not together, right?
Yeah. I didn't realize how many people are actually going to be there, and it was amazing. Even more than what was on the ice, there was guys up in the box, and just to see everybody and tell those stories, it was special. It was a special night for the Sedins, and being able to see Nazi, and he's coming on later in the show, but it was just a unreal time.
Yeah, you want to host the show now or what? Just let the cat out of the bag that Nazi's our guest.
Well, I mean, probably do a better job than you. So,
you know what I want the viewers, the listeners to know is I just saw her in the background. So she's actually going to hear the first podcast episode recorded ever. So good for her. So supportive.
She actually just left. So
perfect. So it'll be like usual.
Yeah. Episode 11 of her not listening.
But anyways, and you know what? We'll talk quickly about Bruce Boudreau got fired today, and he's the 8th coach fired this year, which is a record, I believe. Tied a record. So we'll talk a little bit about him. We played for him. I had him for 2 years. You had him for 3. Say what you want about him. We'll talk more. Awesome guy. Really, really nice, genuine guy. So we'll tell some. I know you have some really good Bruce stories because he ran the forwards.
Oh yeah, we can bring that up later though. Jeez.
And then, like you said, Nazi's our guest today. We haven't spoke to Nazi for a while. Certainly not together. So looking forward to talking to him, and this will be a good one. Ready?
Yeah, for sure. Can't wait. Let's go.
So, Cass, I think we should probably mention before we get going here, thoughts and prayers are with Jay Bouwmeester. He collapsed on the bench Tuesday night in Anaheim. Trainers and staff and everybody did a really good job of reviving him, but they canceled that game. And it was in the middle of the first period. It was like 1-1 already. But you kind of briefly just texted with him, right? And he's doing better?
Yeah, I texted with him a little bit, and he said he's doing all right, which is good because it could have been a lot worse if the doctors weren't on top of him.
So pretty scary situation, and it's happened. People might not remember. It's happened before with Yuri Fisher in Detroit, and it happened over Latvia as well. And since then, though, they've done enough things and they've done enough research to know that they need these defibrillators close by, and I think
100%.
that helped them. That helped the whole situation there. So shout out to all the medical staff and everybody that worked on him. He's at UCI. It's like 20 minutes from my house, and it's a really good hospital, and they're taking care of him right now. So we hope he's doing well and everything works out for him, right?
Yeah, I hope he does better. He's under the best care right now, so I'm sure they have it under control.
So our boy Bruce Boudreau, I had him when I joined you in Anaheim for 2 seasons, and you're laughing because we had a funny relationship. But you had him, and he ran the forwards for the most part. He gets fired today from Minnesota. It's not the biggest shock in the world, but the fact that 8 coaches have been fired this year is a bit of a shock. But talk about Bruce. Like Bruce is, I've spent time with him in the past few summers at his hockey camp because my sons attended it back in St. Catharines in Ontario. And he's an awesome guy. Like he's the nicest guy. Tell us a good story, Cass. You got some good ones.
All right. One comes to mind. Bruce is, like you said, he's a great guy. But for whatever reason, I get traded my first year, and apparently the guys were terrible during day games or like afternoon, like 5 o'clock games. So sometimes we wouldn't have pregame skate. So he comes in before the game, or maybe it was after the game. I don't know the whole story, but what I'm getting to is he comes storming in the room, and he's like, I don't know what it is, guys. We're just not successful during games. I don't know if you're out shopping or what you're doing, but we got to figure it out. So he goes on this tirade and goes, and he leaves the room, and I stand up, and I'm like, all right, who's going shopping on game days? And everybody just started dying laughing. And it's like, okay, who went to Target today? Someone had to go to Target today, like fess up. So it's just that's Brucey though. He's a good guy, and he tends to overthink things a little bit. And the whole shopping tirade was I'll never forget that one.
We had a lot of fun with him, right? Like he was funny around the rink, and I don't want to talk too much about the details of it, but do you remember his pregame meal? So his pregame meal, and I'm not going to tell you what it was, but it was the same thing every time. And before I got there, the guys were like, watch him during pregame meal. And I'm like, okay. So he's eating his pregame meal, and he's got something funny going on. So he's kind of like on alert, and he knows everyone's watching. And I slowly just creep up my phone, and I zoom in, and I take a picture of him across the room eating his pregame meal. And that made it to the team group text. so that anytime, like we had the team group text always going in Anaheim, and it would get out of control. Like everyone would pick on Perry, the same thing. Like it would be like pick on Perry, and then that pitcher would just squeak in there every once in a while. It was good for a laugh, but we loved Bruce.
I didn't know what to get when I first got traded with Bruce, because my first phone call he he basically chirped me. He's like, yeah, I don't know why we traded for you. Every time we played the Canucks,
he said that to me
year,
too. He said that to me too.
He goes, every time we played you guys, like, we just kill you. So I don't know why we picked you up.
Was he serious?
Yeah. And then he goes, I don't really know the type of player you are. And I'm like, I finally cut him up. I go, Bruce, YouTube me. Watch a couple highlights. Like,
look me up. Look me up. He said that to me when I first got to the Ducks. We came out of the gates like flat, and like our team conditioning as a whole. Like when I got there, I'm like, this is a joke. Like this isn't an NHL conditioned team, right? So probably had something to do with our start. So we came out of the game. Remember, we're like 1-7-1, and he pulls me in. He goes, yeah, we went to the conference finals last year, and this year we're in last place on the team, and the team is all the exact same except for you, Chris Stewart, and like one other guy he named. So I'm like, so let me get this straight. It's my fault we're in last place right now? And he's like, well, I'm not saying that, but I am saying, this is this. And I'm like, oh my God. So that was my start with him. But our relationship grew for the better after that. But anyways,
yeah, Bruce is a great guy. I'm sure he's going to jump on with another team, but it's honestly crazy how there's so many coaches getting fired this year. I think they're going to set a record if another coach gets fired, and it seems to be the trend that if a team starts playing like shit, then instead of trade players, the coach is always the first to go.
Bruce will be fine. He'll land on his feet. He's a good guy. He's got a lot of connections. His son is an up and coming coach as well. Both of them are. So you'll see more Boudreaux in the future.
Perfect. Can't wait.
So, Cass, we had a good day Wednesday. We went to Danny and Hank's retirement ceremony. You were there a couple days before, so you got to see some of the guys. But when I came in, I didn't have much time. Went to the hotel. Oh, yeah. How about you? Your suit. So Cass calls me. We're supposed to meet in the lobby at 4:45, and Cass is usually punctual. I'll give him that. And he calls me at like 4:20, and he says, hey, did you bring an extra suit? And I go, yeah. And he goes, okay, I'm coming up to try to put it on. So he comes up to my room, and he tries on my extra suit because what happened? You tell him.
Okay.
I just pictured you in my suit.
That's what I didn't fit at all. I was like the fat guy in a little coat.
You're a bit of a unit right now.
So let's move it back. Tuesday morning, which is the day before the Sedin's retirement night. I give my suits to the hotel to get them pressed. Like, you travel with suits, you get a little wrinkly. Rather than iron them myself, I just gave them to the hotel to get them pressed. So they had them all day Tuesday, all day Wednesday. And I'm like, oh, just bring it back by noon at the latest. It'll be fine. So I'm laying on my bed, and Andrea comes around the corner. She's like, where's your suits? I'm like, good question. It's call down. Hotel's like, oh, they'll be right up. Another 30 minutes go by. Now it's like 3:45, 4 o'clock. No call. Call back. Oh, they're off site. I go, what do you mean they're off site? They're like, oh yeah, they're off site and at a laundry location. That's the way we do our laundry service. I'm like, okay, so where is it? They're like, oh, we don't know. We're gonna check. We just sent someone there to go pick it up. And I'm like, okay, we'll have it there in 20 minutes. So it's 4:10 now, Juice. And I'm like, I'm gonna get it at 4:30. I'll be all right. So that's when I called you, and I called them back, and I'm like, listen, guarantee me 30 minutes. And then they go, we have a few suits. We have a few suits on premise. Can we get your size so we can, and I'm like, what did you just say to me?
You're like, I'm tall, lanky, bull-legged, broad shoulders, skinny waist. That's your size. No suit's going to fit
no
you.
Suit. No
off
suit.
The shelf.
No. So
clearly, because you tried mine on.
I'm not going to go to walk on the ice with a JW Marriott across my chest. So I literally haven't seen Gillis or Noni or Berkey or, Matthias Olin. I haven't seen any of these guys in a decade, basically. And I come down with workout gear on with dress shoes and like knee-high dress socks. And
well, you know
that's
what? From their perspective, this was perfect. Like you said, you haven't seen him in so long. We all meet in the lobby. Here comes down. We're all in suits and ties. Kess walks down in dress shoes, burgundy dress socks pulled all up halfway up his leg, really tight short shorts, and a t-shirt. That's what's a t-shirt say? Wasn't like
it said hockey. It was level 10 hockey.
It just looked like some scrub off the street, and we're going to, you know, one of the biggest nights of the year in Vancouver. So like it was funny. Like I think we have somebody must have taken a picture because we got into a shuttle. We went over to the rink, and then we all walk off this bus, like all the Canuck like legends of the last 20 years. And there's people like, well, I want pictures and autographs. And here comes Kess walking off the bus in dress socks, dress shoes, and short shorts and a hockey t-shirt.
The Canucks have a video on their Twitter of me saying hi to everybody at the rink in my workout gear. So Chris Tanev, got a hold of him. He brought an extra suit to the rink just in case. I get on the bus. I'm going to the game in shorts and a t-shirt. So we're all going. As soon as the bus pulls out, my suit shows up. So go grab my suit, bring it down, and I'm carrying my suit into the arena. And I'm like, this is so fucking embarrassing. Like, I haven't seen these guys in years. And so, you know, it was an icebreaker, maybe a little bit to see the guys again and make fun of me be the brunt of the joke again. And
pretty standard.
It's like shocker. First time on Rogers Arena's ice. I might get booed. I might not. And, you know, thought goes over your head. Like, did they do this on purpose?
Yeah. You said that when you left my room, and I laughed afterwards. You were kind of like upset. You're like, fuck, only me this would happen. Like, I can imagine you're probably a little stressed out and you're a little worried, and now you don't even have your own friggin' suit to wear. Like, it's but anyways, it worked out. We walked into the rink. You got dressed eventually, and probably like the coolest part was just seeing everybody before we went on the ice and just kind of reminiscing with, like, you had 20 years of like all of our favorite, you know, teammates and ex-players. Mm-hmm. So you had like Nazi, and you had Mo and their wives. You had Matthias. Who else did you say was in the suite? Yannick, Hansen, Mace,
Michael Samuelson.
Yeah, Michael Samuelson. It was just awesome to like catch up and the management and GMs and coaches, and then we're walking through the hallways, and then you sprinkle in a bunch of the current players came out and were saying hi. It was just a cool, and then you throw Gary Bettman right in the middle of that with Bill Daly.
You two had a little tussle in the hallway, I saw.
Oh, he fired me up. He fired me up before I went on the ice. Have I told that story on this before a little bit? How we had a little bit of a misunderstanding at the All-Star game this year?
Yeah, I believe you have, but let's rehash it again.
No, let's not rehash. It's a bit. Basically, he accused me of doing something before, saying something in the media, which I certainly didn't. And I think he thinks I'm you at times. And I'm like, I didn't say that in the media. I own up to what I say. And he's like, no, you did. I'll find it. I'm like, go find it. So fast forward to Wednesday, I go up and I go, hey, find anything yet? He goes, nope, still looking. And I'm like, okay, keep looking, buddy. And then, you know, shake hands and go out. And then he walked out in front of me, and I'm just stewing in the tunnel before we walk out. And I remember Nazi's like, what's the matter? I'm like, fired up right now, Naz. Fired up.
You're thinking about a Superman punch, weren't you?
No. I respect Gary, but I obviously I say things that are a little controversial, but I think I own them. But so I don't need you to blame me for things I didn't say, because I got my own problems already, right? But taking the heat for you, most likely
would say that. No chance. There's zero chance I said that.
Not in the media. Just
maybe like, to you. Yeah.
Anyways, ceremony was great. Yeah. One thing that we should note is probably it takes Danny and Hank, like two amazing guys and teammates, to get all those guys back. Right? Like that doesn't happen if it's anybody else. Burr,
Louis, Burr, Hansen, Manny Malhotra, obviously, and Chris Higgins. Those guys work for the staff. But it was just so good to see everybody. Brings back the memories of like, it's almost like the golden years, right? Like how much it it brings back memories of how much fun we had playing hockey back then.
Did it feel like when we were walking through the tunnel, like through the dressing room before we were all introduced individually, it felt like we were playing?
Yeah.
Right?
I didn't want to say that. Yeah.
What a team that would be, eh? What a team that would be.
You think we could beat Ottawa if we laced them up right now?
If we played Ottawa right now in our condition, I thought everybody looked in pretty good shape.
Yeah, everybody looks in better shape. Like Michael Samuelson looks in better shape now than he did when he played. Which Sammy was great shape when he played, but everybody looks thin and in great shape. It's good to see. Other than Yannick looked a little rough.
Looks
joking.
Yeah,
I'm joking.
Terrible. He looks terrible. Obviously, there was chirps that flew around, but anyways, the Twins. What I like is the Twins. They don't love attention and they don't like the spotlight, but the Canucks wanted to honor them, and they went out there and they had everybody looking at them, and they don't like that, but they made everybody feel so inclusive, right? Like they brought us all. Didn't it feel like when they're raising the jersey? I don't know what you felt like, because you probably think your jersey's going to be raised there one day, but I know mine's not. But I felt like when they're raising that 22 and 33, I'm like, I felt a little bit of pride. Like, you know what? I had a small part in that. Like I feel
exactly,
because the Twins make us feel like that, right? Like we had a small part in that, and they like are so genuine and gracious about it. Like it was a cool ceremony. We've been to a couple of them before, Cass, and that was, for me, that was the most heartfelt for sure.
100%. Even their speech was incredible. I know they were really nervous beforehand, and they killed it though. I mean, I know you were only supposed to talk for 5 minutes and you talked for 6 because you like to hear yourself talk so much, and you thought you were funny. You're the only one laughing at your own jokes because no one else could hear them.
That's exactly what happened. I'm laughing and everyone's like, what the heck's so funny? And I'm like, I'm what's funny. Like the jokes to me are funnier than probably they are to the rest of the crowd. But the people that get me thought it was funny. But yeah. It was fun. And then we shut down the rink after the game. Great game. I mean, they didn't play good.
I walked out in the hallway and I saw the workers just standing out there, and I'm like, what time is it? And they're like, it's 1:00. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Are we keeping you? Because they just kept, giving us wine and beer, and it just seemed like the time passed by so fast that we just lost track of time, and then we continued the night later on.
Yeah, like there was so much going on, and there were so many people to talk to that we're all packed in this suite, like this double suite or whatever. Canucks do an awesome job of setting all these things up and taking care of everything, getting us together. But we're in the suite, so I don't know. I saw you, but you're mingling. Like there's so many people to talk to and catch up. I didn't even watch the game, so we're sitting around after we left the rink with Alex Edler and Mark Crawford, who coached the game for Chicago, the assistant coach, and we're sitting around, and I remember saying, "Hey, Eagle, like." Good game. Like how'd it go, you guys? And he goes, not so much. And I go, well, what do you mean? Like you won 3-0. And then he goes, yeah, but they had the puck all game. And then Crow goes, yeah, we had 50 shots on net, and I think they had 15. And I'm like, oh, like I didn't see that. But I guess it was like a one-sided affair, and Markstrom just stood on his head.
Yeah. I saw that they had 50 shots, but to be honest, there's so many people to talk to during the game that I think I maybe watched 3 minutes of the game, and it was every time I'd hear the goal horn, I'd watch a couple minutes after that. But other than that, I was just talking to the guys the whole time.
The only part I watched, Eagle was on the penalty kill, and he took like a hard slap shot down the ice, and then he mentioned that he goes, "Yeah, I had 2 shots on net on the penalty kill." I'm like, what? Who the hell brags about that? He's like, yeah, did you see my 2 shots on net on the penalty kill? I go, what? Who cares? What are you
just looking
about?
Up to his big brother, eh?
Oh, Matthias is his role model, mentor, and Matthias was so proud of him too. He's like, look at Alex out there. Like he could play forever. He's just so smart and so good. And then Alex comes up to the suite after. Who's he go over to right away? Matthias.
Yeah, just 2 male models, eh?
Hey, you know what? The ladies like Matthias. Like my wife, I'm sure Andrea does.
He's a good-looking dude. Just a nice Swedish Viking.
Too bad, like he doesn't
tough
like
to compete with that. I mean,
I know.
tip your hat to him, right?
We only have so much we're working with here. This guy's got assets for days. Anyways, Danny and Hank, great night, a lot of fun. I think you're going to the Dice and Ice, I believe. Is that tonight with them or tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm going to see him again tonight.
You hosting?
No, I was going to, but they said that you're going to fly in. You did such a great job that you're flying back in to hear yourself talk again because you've never seen a microphone you haven't liked before.
Oh, guys. You know what? I had fun.
You did a good job. I'm just giving you shit, buddy.
Obviously had fun. So just before we go out on the ice and get introduced, we're in the tunnel and there's nervous energy, right, Cass? For all of us, but for you?
Like, how did you feel? But I felt terrible. I was excited but nervous at the same time. And I remember I was shaking a bit and I whispered in your ear, I was like, Juice, I've never been so fucking nervous in my life before. And you're kind of vulnerable down there because you're not wearing the hockey equipment like we're used to. That's kind of like a shield for us, right? Yeah. And you're kind of like, we're all putting ourselves out there and you got a huge standing ovation and I'm standing there next and I'm like, oh, here we go. But the fans were great. They gave me a great reception and it was nice to hear those cheers again. It brought me back to when we were playing,
Yeah, I felt good for you too because I knew deep down inside that you were going to get cheered, but you never know, right? And
never know.
I thought the fans were so good and gracious to all of us. Like Trevor got a huge ovation and he hasn't been around the team since he kind of left, right? So he had a little apprehension as well. Like obviously people always love Nazi, but TS, like everybody got a great Lou Burr. It was just so cool to see every individual guy go out there and get just showered with applause and appreciation because you're right. Like we're there for the Sedins and it's it's their night and we're there to support them. But it's also nice to be acknowledged for all the blood, sweat, and tears we've all put in individually over the years. So that was cool. That was a great part of the ceremony.
Yeah, exactly.
So Danny and Hank were obviously amazing guys, but on the ice, let's talk about that quickly. You scored 41 with them the 1 year on the power play, right? Like they made everybody better around them. You could look at the list of guys who played with them, like Anson Carter. They get him 33. And we saw Ace a couple days ago. Like, yeah, they get you 33, then you peace out on them, eh? But like Taylor Pyatt, like Yannick Hansen, Burr, obviously they made his career. And Burr's not shy to tell you he's very grateful. But you played on the power play with him the 1 year you had 41. Like how much easier did they make it?
What was cool to see is Newell Brown he was our power play coach, right? And he did a great job of just allowing the Sedins to basically run that power play, right? They had their own way of doing things, and Hank would always be on the half wall just dishing, and they would get me the puck in the perfect spot. And the thing is, I put the puck in the net, but if I don't have Danny and Hank putting the puck in the perfect spot for me to one time it, they made it so easy on me to just shoot the puck. And that was my best trait, I think, when I scored those 41 goals that year. So if it's a foot off, I don't get that shot off or it might not go in. So they were so good at just placing the puck perfectly. And we worked on that a lot. And they're so smart and just such gracious people that, those are the types of leaders you want on your team,
Yeah. What you guys were so good. We were the number one power play in the league the 1 year, power play and penalty kill. And we had two good groups. You guys were clearly the number one unit. I thought we were a pretty good number two unit, but what the Twins are so good at is breaking pressure. So yeah, like when you guys have the puck, they're making plays. And then as soon as there would be a shot and a rebound, you were really good at retrievals, probably the best in the league that year. So you would keep a lot of pucks alive. And then as soon as you would get it to Danny or Hank, they could do one of those ding, 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 like give and goes and break pressure. So if the PK wanted to be super aggressive, they would break pressure. And you guys would score so many goals off of the scramble because you would get the puck back.
Well, I knew my job. My job was to get the puck, get it to Danny and Hank. And we worked on that a lot. I don't know if you remember, we always worked on retrievals against no pressure. And my job was to rim it out to Hank's side. And it worked every time. And then you're right. I got it to Danny and Hank, and then they broke the pressure with their magic.
Yeah, so many people don't understand that when they're talking about how successful power plays are. They think it's all off the setup. They're like, oh, okay, like off the setup, they're the number one power play because they run the best plays. Well, everybody runs similar plays off the setup, but it's what power plays can get that puck back and not just get one and done. Like one shot, the other team ices it, and you guys got so many chances. And then once you start retrieving some of those second and third chances, how tired does the PK get? They're so tired now, and now you guys can just pick them apart. And you guys were awesome at that year.
Yeah, we were. They were such a huge part about that.
But 5-on-5, you could plug anybody on their. Remember when Jeff Cowan played on their line for like 2 weeks?
Brawbarian. Remember the Brawbarian? He used to get bras thrown on the ice when he'd score.
I don't know where that came from, but girls would hang these big bras over the glass and he scored like 6 goals in like 10 games. And I think he had like 8 goals in his career.
He caught on fire, and you're right. He did score a ton in that 10-game span, and the fans loved him. Every time he scored, there'd be multiple bras thrown on the ice, and as a team, we loved it.
And he was a redhead too, so when they would start games, it would just be 3 redheads lined up. It was awesome. It was just such a perfect line mate for them. For 10 games.
They broke up Hank and Danny once or twice. Remember AV broke them up? And I played with Danny, and I looked down. I'm like, don't expect a lot from me. I'm not Hank. I'm like, you're going to have to change your game to play with me.
They weren't as good, and they didn't want to play apart. I played the 1 year when Eagle broke Danny's foot in practice with a slap shot, and Danny was out 6 weeks. Vigneault comes to me, and he goes, I think we had problems with like our roster space, so they couldn't call up any forwards. He goes, so they tried Romer on the 4th line. So Romer was a defenseman, and they're like, we'll put him on the 4th line and we'll plug him in there. And then Vigneault comes to me and he goes, no, do you mind? Like, can we try you at forward? Because, and I go, oh, why? He goes, well, we don't want to sacrifice any offense, so we'd rather bring you up. Like I had a lot of points around that time in my career before. Basically before the Ducks told me to stop joining the Rush. But anyways, a little dig there. But so I started the first game on, do you remember when I played forward? I started the first game on the 3rd line with Welly and Tanner Glass. And I got put in the box for the whole 3rd period because you started a brawl against the Rangers during the timeout. Do you remember that play?
Yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday. Aaron Boros.
You're skating off the ice, and you had like 10 guys from the Rangers. Look it up; it's pretty funny. And I'm changing, and it's during the timeout. Like we're not playing, and you get jumped by 10 guys.
I think I said something to Gaborik, and then Aaron Boris, and I think I might have. And then all of a sudden, there's like 10 Rangers on the ice fighting me, and then it just started a melee, and I loved it. You were right there.
So I got 20 minutes in the box, so I didn't play the whole 3rd, and I was kind of like pumped to play forward. So then the next game, I'm thinking, okay, he's going to put me back on D. And Vigneault pulls me on the bus, and he goes, you're going to play with Burr and Hank. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, fuck, this is more like it. This is where I belong. So I played 2 or 3 games with Burr and Hank, and that was the year Hank won the Art Ross. It was so easy. It was so easy. But the only problem was, Burr and I started so many scrums, so Hank was in all these scrums every shift, and he doesn't belong in scrums.
No, he doesn't. He can hold his own, but we don't want our star player in scrums. And you 2 idiots would go out there and just start scrums, and he'd just get dragged into the pile, and I'd be steaming on the bench, just wishing I was out there.
Yeah, he can't handle his own. That was just a nice thing you said there.
He can't. Didn't he get in a fight?
No.
He has 1 fight under his belt.
Who?
He might have left his gloves
Danny?
on, but
He fought Danny the one time in practice, remember? What they were really good at is they were so innovative. They started so many trends in the NHL, like the slap pass off the half wall. They were the first ones to do that I remembered.
Yeah, it was called the Sedin play.
And it was because Hank has a muffin, and he can't take a slap shot and hit the net in the air, so he would have to get a redirection from Danny halfway. But they scored so many goals off of it.
It worked every time, 100% of the time.
And then the face-off play, we call it, I teach it to my kids, it's called the Sedin play. When Hank wins the face-off inside to the inside winger in zone, and he takes it around the circle. The other winger on the boards like funnels through the net. That's the Sedin play too.
Yeah, and the Sedin play from the neutral zone, where Hank wins the draw. Danny goes to the boards like he's faking and then he cuts the middle and they give him a breakaway pass. That's another Sedin play. And then they just have so many plays that honestly every team in the league uses it now, right?
Well, how about when Hank gets the puck? He used to get the puck in our zone off the breakout, and he's so slow, like Danny would be way ahead of him, and he would just sauce it off the ice indirect, and Danny would get breakaways. He's got the one goal against Detroit. He did that. That's a Sedin play too.
Yeah, we can talk all day long about Sedin plays because they're ahead of their time mentally and they changed the game.
But we could also talk about how they love the hot tub after every game and on the road. Hot tubs all the time.
Before the game too, right?
They would hot tubs, and you know how like for most of us there's a certain time for hot tubs and coffee. Well, every time is okay for them. Like they would drink black coffee at 11 o'clock at night and then go to bed. Or pregame, they'd have a black coffee at pregame and then they go have a nap. We're like, what are you doing? They're like, oh, it doesn't affect us. What? Caffeine doesn't affect you?
That's the way they were, right? Just like hot tubs. They just wanted to be with the boys.
Just like to marinate in the hot tub.
Come out all wrinkly.
Oh, we got so many like inside jokes with them that we can't even talk about because it's so inappropriate and it would embarrass them. But we didn't want to bother them or pester them during their week, asking them to be on the podcast. But I think we all know it's a given that they're going to be on soon. We're just going to wait for the right time.
Yeah, we'll let things cool down and then we'll get them on here and we'll be able to talk about all our stories and you know I'm sure they got a few about us too.
We'll make them uncomfortable. That's what we're good at.
Well, you're good at making me uncomfortable.
You're sitting there with no shirt on right now in your hotel room.
It's hot, man. It's like, what is it, 22 degrees Celsius, whatever the hell that is.
You're listening to the Cass and Juice podcast.
I feel like I've said this already, but our next guest is a former Pittsburgh Penguin, Vancouver Canuck, and New York Ranger from 1993 to 2009. Quick math, Cass. How many years is that?
16.
You are a smart man. 12 of those as a Canuck, 8 as a captain, which is the longest tenure still to date. He's the second member of the West Coast Express that we've had the privilege of having on this show. 1,100 plus NHL games, 869 points. I mean, he's a 5-time All-Star, and he's got a lot more accomplishments. But one that sticks out to me is 3-time Viking Award winner, which is the top Swedish player in the NHL, which I think is a pretty big honor. He's a mentor of Kess and I, our first few years in the NHL, and he's a good friend, Markus Naslund. Nazi, what's up, buddy?
Not much. Good to hear your voice, Juice.
For me, like two guys that I always watched were you and Matthias Olin, right? And not to like embarrass you, but I always thought I want to be like those two guys, you know, when I've been in the league for 6, 7, 8 years, like just cool guys. Like you guys are cool guys, but like nice to everybody, good players. And that's kind of like who I molded myself after kind of thing. So I'm not really sure how you can respond to that, Nazi, but that's the way that I looked at you.
Well, I'm really flattered that you guys are saying that. I in hindsight, looking back, I wish that I did more for the young guys coming in. But you guys know too, there's so much going on when you're in the midst of everything, and you want to try to focus on your thing, but also have time for the rest of your teammates. But I didn't feel that I maybe gave you guys enough time, but I hope that you guys felt that the line was always open and that you could approach me if there's anything you wondered about or that I could help out with.
Yeah, I always did. I love that you always called me a little bitch.
Well, you took after Bert coming in grumpy in the morning. That's something that he rubbed off on you.
Exactly. You know what? When you did give us some time, do you remember my first team party was at your house? Remember you lived on that house? I don't know, it was just off of Granville or something.
Yeah.
And you had everybody over. I don't know if you remember because you probably had a couple, but
Yeah.
Katie and I came. Kes picked us up in his Hummer with Andrea. Remember that Hummer he had? Big dog?
Yeah.
So he picks us up and he brings us over to your house. And I still remember you had J Lure wine.
Yeah.
You had a whole bunch of bottles of wine. So Kes and I and our wives and Josh Green and Kristen, we go and we sit outside on your patio because we're the young guys. We're still like feeling a little bit, like we don't belong kind of thing. So we're trying to stay out of the way. So we just sit outside and we just drink all of your wine all night long. And then you ended up joining us. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do for sure. And I think I helped you guys pretty much quite a bit there too, because I don't think I've drank in J Lower since then. So.
Oh, so you join us outside, and next thing you know, nobody's left in the house. Everyone's gone home, and I didn't even know. I didn't have kids back then. It was a weekday, so I didn't even realize your 3 kids were in bed. And Lotta comes out and says, "Okay," and she's kind of trying to push the pace here. And Katie picks up on it and says, "We should go now." And I'm like, "No, we're fine. Like Nazi's with us. He's having a blast." She's like, "No, we should go." So we stand up and haven't stood up in probably 4 hours after drinking wine, and just all of us are just mangled. Right. So I know I'm telling this story because I feel like you guys don't remember it, but we make our way to the front door and we're saying our goodbyes. And Nazi, you said to my wife and to Andrea, "Thanks for having me." At your house.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I think that was brought up quite a bit after. That was kind of like a saying that you guys used towards me, right? Later on as well.
So true.
Yeah. But I don't know if it was the language barrier or if it was the amount of the red wine.
I just want to ask him quickly about the wooden stick. He's like one of the last guys to use that wooden stick and the wrist shot. You still have those things around?
Yeah, I got a few in the garage, but no, I changed. I actually changed for my last year in New York. I took the time to get used to the composite stick. I wish I did that sooner because it makes a difference. I think you do get a better shot with the composite stick, but I always like the feel of the wood blade, and I was kind of traditional with my equipment. Same thing with skates. I used an old type of material in my skates, and Bauer made it look like a newer brand so they can try to market it, but it was old. So they came to me the last pair and said, "Nazi, we're sorry, we were out of this material. Now you got to change skates."
Nazi, out of everything, I know you played 12 years. Like, what's Kes and I know what we would say is probably some of our best memories. What's your best memory as a Canuck?
It's tough to just pick one, I think, and you guys had the real good runs, even though you didn't make it all the way, but in the playoffs after I left. So I think that's probably something that would stand out more than anything is the success you would have in the playoffs. We were always disappointed. We had good teams, I think, but lost in Game 7 against Mini in the second round, where that a lot of the favorites were knocked out in the first round. I don't know. That's a tough one to answer. I really enjoy the group of guys. I think that's what stands out after I'm done and I'm looking back at my career. I think it's those things that you bring out, the stuff that happened away from the rink or stuff that happened in the locker room or on team flights or whatever. Those are the things that I cherish and I miss the most.
That's what we talked to Bert. I think Bert was our first guest on the podcast, Todd, and he said same thing. Like, just what he missed was how good of a group of guys there were, but talk about your line there. Like, for 3-4 years, you guys were the best line in the world. And we asked him about it, and obviously he shit on Mo. But
yeah.
What's is that your impression? Like, basically you and Bert carried the line and Mo was just there as a punching bag?
No, Mo did an excellent job too, and we had we had so much fun teasing each other too on the bench, and Mo is strong mentally to handle both me and Bert because we wanted the puck at all times and we were open at all times. So it wasn't an easy task being a center there. But yeah, I don't know. We complemented each other really well. I mean, during those years too, Bert was a beast, and I think, I don't know if I would pick anyone above him to play with, because he would hold off defenders with one arm and use the other one to make plays. I mean, created so much room for myself and Brendan just with his size and the fear he put into a lot of the defenders. So I think it almost brings me back to the childhood when you played for fun those years. I didn't really worry about all the external stuff. It was more just enjoying stepping on the ice and knowing that you're going to get scoring chances playing with those two.
Yeah, you guys are pretty special. My first game, quickly, my first start was in Vancouver against LA and at home. And it was me, Matthias, and you guys, the West Coast Express. And just quickly, you probably don't remember this. Mo wins the opening faceoff. I'm a Canadian kid, grew up, watched hockey his whole life on TV, so I'm super nervous. Mo wins the drawback to Matthias. Matthias goes D to D to me. I just want to get the puck off my stick as quick as possible, first NHL shift. So I force a puck to Mo, who's not open, and Jeremy Roenick's right there, and he just blows Mo up. Like, blows him up bad. And I run up and I try to take a run at him and get some sort of revenge, and I get a penalty. So 7 seconds in, I'm like, fuck, I just gave our best centerman a suey, so you guys hate me. And we're shorthanded, so Nazi's got to sit on the bench for 2 minutes now.
Yeah, that too.
Tough start, eh?
Yeah, I don't remember that, but Mo would deserve that, though. He needs to get hit once in a while to wake up. But you brought up Matthias too. Matthias, in my mind, is so underrated and the ultimate warrior and teammate. I think he was so good for so long for the Canuck franchise, and it was a treat having him on the team.
Matthias was such a good dude too. I love that guy.
Yeah.
He I remember those times on the bench with Mo would sit between you guys, and you'd have Bert on the one side going, "Fuck Mo, pass me the puck." And then you'd be like, Mo, I was open. And he'd be like, "Oh, fuck, I can't give you both the puck." I still giggle thinking about that.
No, he had the list. Mo had the list because he had no teeth, right? Like, Jesus Christ, Nazi! I was open. I'm trying to get the pucks, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you might have brought that up earlier, but the one time when he came, like you said, he got sour too when I would always look to Bert first, and Bert would always look to me first. But Mo usually got the second assist still. But anyhow, he would come to the bench. You've heard this story, I'm sure, and he would swear. He goes, "Guys, am I sprayed with invisible paint?"
Oh.
I hope he's not listening.
I've never. Well, he'll get his chance. We'll give him his chance in a couple of weeks to give his impression of everything.
Now, Nazi, when you moved back to Sweden, you became the GM of Modo. How was that?
It's way different than I expected. Modo is obviously the team that I grew up playing for and had a close connection to, even during my time in Vancouver. But when I moved back, I first worked as a board member, and then actually I made a comeback for half a season just to help them out a little bit. And then the year after, I was asked to run the team and be the GM. And I try to imply a lot of the stuff that you picked up from playing over here. And I think the franchises you play for in North America are so well run, and I mean the attention to detail they have here is second to none. So I think it was a little bit of a culture shock when I try to imply those things to a Swedish organization. But we had and I brought in Alf Samuelsson too, who worked as an assistant coach in the NHL for quite some time too. So we try to work that way. In hindsight, I think it didn't work as well as I hoped it would, because they just small things like traveling the day before a game wasn't well accepted by the players there, because they want to spend as much time as they can at home and stuff like that.
Really?
And which
That's
is
interesting.
Yeah, but it was important for me to have a coach that had the same view as I did as the GM, and we made the playoffs all 3 years, but we didn't take it as far as I think we should have been able to with the players we had.
Nice. Now, where does Alex play now?
Alex, my son, plays for the Moto J18, so the junior team there. And he's enjoying it.
So how does that system work? There's a junior team and then you get bumped up?
Yeah, you got, they also have, the school is connected to the team, you could say. So you have 4 practices a day or a week daytime integrated with school. And they get to have dinner at the school as well. And he lives at home still, but they have the J18 team and then the J20 and then the senior team. So he actually has a couple of guys his age group. There are 17 now that's actually played games for the elite or the senior team already.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah. So that Moto's in your hometown, right? How do you say it? Örnsköldsvik?
Yeah, close. Örnsköldsvik. Yeah.
That's what I said. That's what I said.
Yeah. So Moto is really, they were the main sponsor. Moto is a paper mill in town, but they were the main sponsors way back. So now the team is more, especially in the hockey world, is more well known than the city itself.
So, a lot of people don't probably know this, and because Kess and Juice has fans from all over the world, but it's a small town. How many people live there? Like 20, 30,000?
Yeah, 30 in the inner city, about 30,000, 60,000 with the suburbs. But it's
what I'm getting at is, where I'm getting is that you guys have put Hall of Famers into the NHL with you, Forsberg, the Twins, Sammy Paulson. Like, what makes that city so special? Like, how are you guys just putting out world-class players?
Yeah, Victor Hedman too is a decent defenseman. But no, it's I don't know what the reason is, but we had a generation ahead of us that came from this city, and Thomas Gradin was one of the guys that left early and played for the Canucks for a long time and was a big star over here. But I think it's more that they opened up the possibilities of coming from a small town in Sweden and making it to the best league in the world. And after my generation with Peter, myself, Niklas Sandström, Matthias Timander, Anders Eriksson, there's a bunch of us about the same age group that came over and played here. Then you had the next group come after that too, when the Twins came. So it just kept on going, which is neat, and still do. We got Victor Olofsson, a young rookie in Buffalo from my hometown. Linus Ullmark, a goalie from Buffalo there. Adrian Kempe plays in LA. So there's young guys coming in now too that's gone through that system.
Wow, that's a lot better than, I'm from Grimsby, Ontario, and it's just me and Bill Berg. not as good, is it?
Yeah.
But I'm sure you've been asked this question a lot this week, but just quickly give us like your last kind of 2 cents on the Twins. We're going to see you in Vancouver. You and Kess are there now. I'll be there tomorrow, but we'll be there to celebrate and honor the Twins. Just kind of, you saw them from the youngest of age, like 3 or 4 years old, right? And to what they've become now. Just give us your quick sense on them.
Well, they're very competitive guys without showing it so much. But I mean, if I were to build a franchise and getting the chance to get those two on board early, you know that you're not going to have any problems, whether it's outside of hockey or in the locker room, if you have those guys being the leaders. And I think they were so accountable, and and led by example, and obviously pushed themselves to play on the highest level for as long as they did too is quite unique. And you guys know how hard they work off the ice, and it's great to see that it pays off on the ice too. But couldn't say enough good things about them. I think they're special people, and they're so down to earth, and it's just great seeing them getting the recognition they get.
Nazi, thanks for coming on. Obviously, I've never told you this, but you were huge early on in my career, and you showed me the way, and you took me under your wing, and to be honest, you hung out with me on and off the ice, and met a lot. For Andrea and I to have someone mentor us, even a lot of mentoring Andrea. I can't repay you for that, and I just want to thank you for coming on this show, and I'll see you hopefully tonight. I mean, we'll make plans after this, but once again, just thanks, buddy.
Well, thank you guys for having me, first of all, and thanks for the kind words, Ryan. But I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys. It's been too long, and I wish we could stay in touch more often.
Okay, thanks guys for listening today. Another good episode with one of our former teammates, and he's certainly not going to be the last. You know what? We only have one more player from the West Coast Express cast that we haven't talked to.
Brendan Morrison. We talked to him this week, and he's coming on one of these times. So reel them in.
Jesus, Cats and Juice, you guys don't even want to have me on your podcast or what? We've had Nazi and Bert impersonate him, so he's going to get his chance to go back at those two. So we'll have him coming up. But happy Valentine's Day to everyone. Keep listening. Keep subscribing. KessandJuice.com. The Instagram is at KessandJuice, and at KBXO3, at Ryan_Kessler. We're going to continue to spit out episodes, have some fun. So we'll talk to you again next week. See you, Kess.
See you, buddy.